In a bit of very humorous political news that actually is part of a larger dysfunction taking place in our society that I'm going to get to, I promise. The McAuliffe campaign in Virginia set up a false flag with the help of the Lincoln Project, where they had tiki torch bearing people stand in front of Glenn Youngkin's bus and big signs chanting, "We're all in for Glen. We're all in for Glen." And if you have any doubts about this being a Democratic false flag, be certain because of this one thing. They made sure to have a black man appear with the tiki torch bearing numbskulls. As a Democrat, you certainly would hate to be scolded by your peers for eschewing diversity, inclusion, and equity. If the progressive Democrats were directing a World War II movie, they certainly would be forced to add a black man to Hitler's inner circle. The purpose of this was to remind everybody that all Republicans are racist, that they are their version of what they want to make Donald Trump appear to be. Then, believing that the public is absolutely stupid, the McAuliffe team and his whole campaign promoted it from moment zero on seconds after the news broke on social media to try to persuade voters that everybody else is racist. When the public discovered that these were in fact Democratic operatives that were staging this support with tiki torches for Youngkin, including the female in the photo, which Twitter was quick to identify, the Lincoln Project, a bunch of former Republicans turned grifters, and good for them for stealing money from the ultra stupid. I've got nothing against them for that, but they were quick to point out that it was a stunt. This is coming from the Democratic playbook, where they try to create an unconscious association with you and a candidate, and that candidate is racist. Therefore, you are an evil person if you vote for him. And if you don't vote for the other candidate, and to try to scare Democrats, if you sit this one out, you let this racist in. That's the same thing that they did in California, where Governor Newsom, despite going to the French Laundry and not masking and lying about it and running the state into the ground, releasing prisoners, $31 billion siphoned off by criminals, managed to keep his job because they convinced the public that Larry Elder, the black man who grew up in South Central, was the black face of white supremacy. The same thing that they're doing with Condoleezza Rice, that she is merely a stepping stone for the white supremacists and bending over intentionally to help them rise. And now the spokesman is regurgitating the fine people hoax, attempting to force Youngkin to comment on it to get the attention off of their false lying flag by associating that with the boogeyman that the left has, which is the name of Donald Trump, for something that didn't even take place. If you just go on a few seconds out of the out of context clip that they play for you over and over again, you will see that he specifically states,
and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Does that sound like he's saying that they're fine people when he's condemning them in the very next breath? It's a whole list of dishonest lies that anybody that votes for these people, and I'm a former Democrat, and I'm ashamed that I voted for Barack Obama twice now, because all they have are lies. We're talking about Kavanaugh being a rapist, Russian collusion, totally disproven. Fine people hoax, drinking bleach hoax, Brian Sisnick, police officer, died at the hands of Trump supporters by being beaten over the head by fire extinguishers, when in fact he died of a stroke. And even after it was known, they brought it up in the second impeachment hearing. The New York Times didn't even correct themselves for almost a month. The Covington kids, Bubba Wallace, and the noose in the garage that he was in. And let's not forget about good old Jussie Smollett. The list goes on and on and on, as does their dishonesty, because they are not held into account. So my question is, how could you ever trust these people? They're evil! Evil!
Evil!
They just move on to the next story that is meant to distract you, and you don't even realize the pile of lies that is building up, that is smelling up the entire United States of America. So F them. It is time to hold them accountable. They clearly are such dishonest actors, and our society cannot stand much more of this without disintegrating. There has to be a meeting in the middle, but one side believes that they are justified in pursuing the strategy of lying to the public, of creating these false flags. Honesty allows us to interact freely with one another. As you increase the number of lies, you increase the friction of society until, like a car that used to be well oiled, it breaks down. So hold these people accountable and make sure, if you're in Virginia, to go out and vote for Youngkin. And one other thought, this just crossed my mind, maybe, just maybe, I'm wrong about the Lincoln Project. Maybe they aren't a bunch of grifters just stealing money from the Democrats. Maybe, in fact, they are Republican and they helped set up and stage this false flag in an effort to damage the McAuliffe campaign. Double agent style, baby. So make sure to penalize this behavior. Vote for Youngkin. Do not let them get away with this. Otherwise, they will continue the lies that, once again, will break down our society. Oh, and just in case they manage to find just enough votes to push McAuliffe over to the top in Virginia, I'm 100% sure it's totally honest. These people are completely trustworthy, and President Brandon elected, there was absolutely no shenanigans that went on in the 2020 campaign. Let's be very, very clear about that. Guys, join me at rumble.com. I've got 2 strikes on YouTube. My channel will not last much longer here. Let's go for free speech. And thumb up the video, please thumb it up, and subscribe, hit the all notifications bell if you're on YouTube or whatever channel you're finding me on. Peace out.